Hello students, welcome to my class. I'm Keerti and today in this session we are going to discuss about energy flow and productivity. Okay, so you are aware with this topic. This topic comes under the chapter name ecosystem, right? So let's get started. See, what is an ecosystem, right? This ecosystem represents the interaction between living and non-living components, right? We know we are the living organism and the plants and the animals and all kind of microbes that are present in our environment. But we already know that we have some non-living component in the environment too, right? For example, the sun, the air, the water. So this ecosystem is the overall interaction that is happening between the living organisms, the living components, and the non living components, right? And this interaction happens through what? Energy flow and productivity. This is happening through a channel that is known as energy flow. So, two components, energy flow and productivity, which we are going to discuss, is the key functional aspect to sustain life on Earth. Okay. See, this ecosystem is very much complex, right? To make it convenient, we have categorized this system into two components, terrestrial and aquatic, right? So our forest, our grasslands, they come under the terrestrial part, and the aquatic part contains our ponds, lake, wetland, river. It means we all water containing body, right? So first of all, we will study about the components, which I already told you. The components of ecosystem are nothing but the biotic and abiotic, and they both are working together. We are maintaining a balance, right? And anything is not in extreme amount. Okay. So we already know. See, the interaction of biotic and abiotic component will result in a physical structure, right? Which is specific for each type of ecosystem, right? Whether it is terrestrial or aquatic. Okay, so in this system, the vertical distribution of species at different levels is known as stratification. For example, if we take, uh, you know, talk about forest, see the trees will occupy top vertical strata, right? After that, the shrubs are there. After that, the herbs are there. In the ground, we have grasses. So all these components of ecosystem, whether biotic, whether abiotic, whether they are happening in different strata, they all work as a unit. And how they work? They work in four types of aspect. One is productivity, right? Second is decomposition. Third is energy flow, right? And fourth is what? Nutrient cycling. Okay. Suppose if we consider aquatic ecosystem, we say we have a pond. Here we can see all the the four components, the four aspect. If in this pond, uh, at the surface, we have zooplanktons, right? The small animals that are living, right? We have phytoplanktons. The abiotic component is the water, of course, and the dissolved nutrients that the water is having, right? The solar input also. We know the phytoplanktons are the plants that will require solar energy to make their own food, right? And at the bottom of this pond, like this is the surface view, at the bottom we will have some kind of fungi, some kind of bacteria that will work as decomposers, right? So we are having all the components, right? The phytoplankton will produce their food using the sunlight, right? The zooplankton will eat the product produced by phytoplankton. After their death, these fungi, the decomposers that are present, they will decompose the dead remains of the body, right? So, in see this, there is an energy flow. Something is flowing, something is keeping this cycle alive, right? So, there is a flow of energy from lower organism to higher organism. That is considered as energy flow, right? So, what is primary productivity? See, amount of biomass produced by plants. Because we already know only plants are able to produce their own food, right? With the help of photosynthesis that we already know, right? So, what is this primary production? This primary production is defined as whatever amount of biomass or organic matter is produced per unit area over a time period, right? For example, gram meter square or kilocalorie per meter square, right? And this rate of bioproduction, in which rate this is happening, this is known as productivity, right? So amount of biomass produced in a unit square of area is primary production, and the rate at which this is happening, right? It is known as productivity. What is it representing? It is actually representing the rate of energy fixation by autotrophs, right? So this productivity can be expressed in three forms: gross primary productivity, GPP, net primary productivity, NPP, and secondary productivity. So, what is the gross primary productivity? It is the total photosynthetic production. It means the rate of production of organic matter during photosynthesis, whatever they are producing. So, of course, this will be utilized by plants in respiration. So, if we you know, subtract the amount of respiration, we will have this NPP. So this is the total amount that is produced. Some of the amount, of course, this will be used in respiration. Plants also need energy to work. So after subtracting the respiration amount, what we will get? We will get net primary productivity, right? What is net primary productivity? It is actually the biomass that is available for the heterotrophs. These heterotrophs include both like herbivores and decomposers both, right? And the secondary productivity is actually the biomass production by these consumers. Consumers, these two. New organic matter that is being produced, right? So primary productivity will depend on the plants that are inhabiting a particular area. If they are large in number, the primary productivity will be also large, right? Also, it also depends on environmental factors, whatever the nutrients that are available at that moment. Okay, so it varies in the different ecosystem. Like in, of course, in terrestrial and in aquatic, they will have different amount of this primary productivity, right? So I already told you this productivity will be affected by what? The type of vegetation and plant species, of course, that particular area, what kind of species are present there, whether the availability of sunlight and nutrients, whether the sun is the amount of sunlight that is required for photosynthesis is reaching to the plants in enough amount or not, right? And also the environmental conditions such as temperature and rainfall. So if this all are in optimum amount, of course the gross primary production will be more, right? So this is the primary productivity produced by the whole biosphere, this NPP. It is 170 billion tons. Ocean, of course, will have different, land will have different amount, right? Because the type of vegetation that is present in ocean and land differs, right? So I already told you some kind of energy is flowing, right? Because see, plants are producing their food, we are eating their food, right? So there will be transfer of some energy. This energy actually flows in a unidirectional manner. Since the plants are the producers, we already know, okay? And we, the consumers, being consumed by decomposers, right? So this sunlight will give the energy for the synthesis of the food. This is being produced by the producers. This will be eaten by the herbivores, the plant living species, for example, cow, goat, etc. Right? These herbivores will be eaten by carnivores, right? For example, if we are considering, the terrestrial ecosystem, the jungle we are talking about, of course, there will be plants that will produce their food. And ultimately, this will be eaten by cow, goat. This goat will be eaten by carnivores like lion, right? And after when they are dead, right? The decomposer will act on the dead body of lion, right? They will eat and will release various inorganic and organic nutrients to the soil. So again, the soil will be used by what plant? Oh, what organism? The plants, of course, right? So there is an energy flow, and this energy flow decreases in each step, right? See here, the picture shows the producers, the primary consumers. Ultimately, this primary consumer will be eaten by secondary consumers, then tertiary consumers, and then comes the quaternary consumer, in which you can see the figure available, right? Because eagle can eat each and every organism on the earth. Even humans are eaten by eagles, right? Okay, so these laws, some of the laws that govern this energy flow are two laws. The law of the first law of thermodynamics, which says energy can be transformed, not created or destroyed, right? It is transformed from one step. And second is the second law, which says energy transfer is inefficient, right? Some energy will be lost at each stage, at every stage. Okay. So the stratification that we earlier talked about, if we consider different organisms, this stratification have different levels, and each level is known as trophic level, right? So, right, starting from producers, then to primary consumers, then to secondary consumers, and then the tertiary consumers. And each level transfer only 10% of energy of what? You already know this is the trophic level. This can be shown in the form of pyramid, right? The producer will be in the first stage, of course, the first trophic level, then primary consumer, then secondary consumer, and then tertiary consumer, right? So each level will transfer only 10% of energy that you need to remember. Okay. And how this system works? This system actually works. The transfer is happening. This is working in a way that we called as food chains. Why food chain? See, there are two type of food chain. First is grazing food chain that begins with producers, right? And other is detritus food chain, which begins with the dead organic matter that are decomposed by microbes, fungi, bacteria, whatever they are present, right? So this grazing food chain will be plants, herbivores, carnivores that we have seen, and detritus food chain will start from the dead matter, right? Dead organic matter, right? And the interconnected, this grazing food chain at some point will connect to the detritus food chain, right? So this is known as food web, where multiple stages are interconnected. Interconnected food chains are food webs. So it's not like the energy will flow in a single direction. That is true, but it doesn't mean that it will not connect with multiple pathways, right? This figure is a typical diagram of food web. Okay. So, what is the ecological significance of this energy transferring? See, this transfer of energy actually maintains the ecological balance and supports biodiversity. See, at each step, an organism is keeping check on another organism, right? Suppose what will happen if the plants are producing uh, plants are there, they are producing their own food. These plants are being eaten by herbivores, say goat. This goat is ultimately eaten by carnivores. What will happen if there will be no goat? Not even a single goat is present. Of course, the production, the expansion of plants will be out of control, right? And if there is no goat, will the lion will able to have say food? If the lion is going to eat only goat, but that is not happening, right? If goat is not there, of course there will be some other organism, right? For example, the lion is going to eat the rabbit. If goat is not there, the rabbit is also herbivore. It is going to eat the plant product, the carrot or other plant parts, right? So at each level, each organism is, you know, checking upon the other organism. So this is the interconnection of food chain and food web, right? And the other is the understanding of productivity helps and manage the natural resources sustainably. Okay. If we know something is in limited amount, we won't be using it recklessly, right? Because say if we nowadays faces crisis for water in each and every part of India, right? So if we are not aware with the fact that water is a natural resource, At some point, it is present in a limited amount. How will be able to manage this sustainability, right? Suppose if a jungle is having only a single pond, right? What will happen if the pond will dry up? Of course, the organism that are using that water, they will all die, or either they will migrate, right? So having this idea of each and every ecological aspect, whatever it is, the thinking about taking into concern of biotic and abiotic stresses, we are actually able to manage the natural resources because natural resources are present in a limited amount. Okay. So hope I'm clear with these two topics of this chapter. Now you are aware of the trophic levels. You are aware with the level of stratification. What is primary productivity? Gross primary productivity, right? The 10% energy rule, the laws, the thermodynamic laws that we have seen, right? Even if you have any doubt, please go through these slides, go through your NCRT chapter. If you are having any doubts, I'll try to answer them. I request you to go and learn each and every topic, right? So we are ending this session. You can contact me through my Urban Pro profile and I can clear your doubts there. Okay. Thank you for this session. Thank you.